I was driving, thinking my dreams were flying out of open windows of the car. It had been 2 years that I graduated from med school and worked as a family doctor in Iran. I've never been excited about doctors' offices. As a kid, I remembered them with these white, cold fluorescent lights and the smell of alcohol in the air that just made me feel sicker and sadder. And yet here I was. I was driving to this small town to open my little sad office, put up alcohol jars, and wait for children to come with their worried moms. As much as I hated doctors' offices, I loved the science of medicine. My favorite toy was a chemistry set that I got for my birthday. I used to watch a lot of science shows and biography of scientists on TV. These were the staples of TV programming after the revolution. Little cool sci-fi shows were suddenly taken off the air, like a Star Trek, $6 Million Man, Space 1999. Think about it. The one biography show that I clearly remember was about the Spanish pathologist called Santiago Ramon Cajal. He loved chemistry too. And he passionately worked long hours in his lab tracing these little brain cells. His insatiable appetite to learn about the brain and human diseases, so inspired. Well, fast forward. In high school, we were required to go to volunteer 1 day a week, working in a real workplace. And most of my friends chose practical jobs. But I wanted to be in a lab with chemicals and microscopes. Luckily, I found a pathology lab in a hospital that accepted me. Soon I realized in a country during the war, pursuing a career in underfunded science was not a viable option for me. In this situation, I thought medicine was my best bet. In Iran, after high school, the students who could make it through this highly competitive university entrance exam with highest ranking scores could directly go to med school, and after 7 to 8 years of training, they could practice family medicine. Well, this plan could save me from going to military service at the height of war between Iran and Iraq, and also secure me a relatively well-paid job. Besides, I imagined the pathology residency would be my escape route from medicine to science, just like Cajal. Well, I made it through 8 years and came to practicing medicine in remote areas of the country in return of service for my education. Throughout these whole years, I kept my connections with the pathology professor that I worked with since high school. He could easily help me get into any residency program in pathology. But disastrously, while I was working in villages, the whole residency match system completely changed and became 100% based on this one stupid multiple choice question exam that I failed twice. It seemed that my future depended on giving up my dreams and just to spend my time in sad doctor's offices practicing family medicine for the rest of my life. But before giving up all hope, I applied for a job at the Biomedical Research Institute. I almost got the job. The only thing was my lab boss was waiting for his grant approval and I was waiting for his call. And then months passed and good news didn't come. So finally I surrendered. That was the day I was driving. When I came back home in the afternoon, I got a phone call from my lab boss, and soon I started my job as a research associate. My project was on MS. For those who wonder, MS, or multiple sclerosis, is a disease of nervous system that impairs senses and movements of patients. The cause of MS is the immune system's reaction against this protective sheet wrapping around nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord. And it's still not completely known what initiates it. A majority of cases, MS symptoms flare up and subside in cycles. That is known as relapsing remitting MS. One day, my boss called me into his office and told me if I could go and meet with my neurology professor and encourage him to collaborate with us, and since he had a lot of MS patients in his clinic. This idea of expanding collaboration also made me about a deeper question. What if we could pick any topic to research on MS? Which one would benefit patients the most? Well, I first made an appointment to go and meet with my professor. During the conversation, I found out that he wanted full control and credit over the project. At some point, he mentioned that with support of powerful people in high offices, he was forming a society for MS that eventually would oversee all research in the field. That, of course, was his. I left his office feeling I was hit by a truck. To find out the second question, which research would benefit patients the most, I went to see my friend Ali. Ali was a doctor and a talented cartoonist who was diagnosed with MS in the second year med school. His MS, unlike most cases, was not relapsing remitting. He suffered from a rare form of disease known as secondary progressive MS. And in his words, every day he felt a little bit worse than the day before. And unfortunately, patients like him, over time, need help to walk, or use a wheelchair, or become completely bedridden. We brainstormed for hours, and at the end he said, you know what? No matter what research you do, practically it has no impact on my life. When people were first diagnosed with MS, they received the news as a shock and have thousands of questions. What is MS? Why me? What should I do? What are my options? What impact it has on my life? And doctors were too busy to discuss these issues with them. He said in other countries there are MS societies that support patients and families, and we didn't have one in the country. And that reminded me of the conversation with the professor, and I mentioned he is forming an MS society. But Ali, who knew the professor very well, was very skeptical of his work and didn't expect anything real happen soon. It took me a few days to slowly separate the problem from the emotional context. And it seemed to me as an information gap. On one side, we had Iranian patients and families who felt left in the dark about their medical issues. And on the other, physicians, scientists who had no idea, no information to map out the nature and extent of the disease in the country. What if we could bridge this gap by providing easy to digest information and in exchange inquire about past medical histories, symptoms, and other information from patients? After all, it was 1997. The internet was not as widespread and easy to search as is today. I pitched my idea to my boss and mentioned that we could ditch the professor and get connected to patients directly. He loved it. And he gave me his support and confidence. And then I talked to Ali and his wife, and we were so excited that I came up with many ideas about information brochures and pamphlets. And within days, he drafted a few. We got more people on board and then took the first step by printing an ad in newspapers inviting MS patients to send us contact information. Then we sent them a welcome package with an introductory brochure and a simple questionnaire. In 3 months, we were in direct contact with over 350 MS patients. And they not only mailed back the filled questionnaires, but also wrote to us how they were so looking forward to receiving more. Soon after our name was out, we saw another ad in newspapers, one suspiciously very similar to ours, from the group that the professor was part of. Because of the history with professor, we needed to immediately assess the threat. So, Ali's wife suggested that she could volunteer her time to help them and get some inside information. She was accepted in very easily and found out that the professor was not a threat to anyone. Basically, he was too busy to pay any attention to anything. Instead, her help with organizing records and keeping contact with patients was much appreciated by them. And we found it as an opportunity to help them more and build trust. She had made friends with the founders and the sponsors of the society, and we invited all of them to our research institute and discussed how we could put our efforts together. At the end of this meeting, they invited my boss and I to join the Multiple Sclerosis Board of Trustees. We unified, and we geared up our efforts to register the society. Iran MS Society was established in year 2000 and became an affiliated member with the MS International Federation soon after. I would leave the country in a few months to do research in Canada, in a position that I found through a network of amazing people I met at the Research Institute. But Iran MS Society thrived. Now they have more than 18,000 members. The society organizes fundraising events and supports rehabilitation and mental health services. And they also work with drug administrations to provide essential drugs and made them affordable for MS patients. I got my PhD in neuroscience. And sometimes when I look at little tiny brains under the microscope, I feel how lucky I am that my dreams did not leave me that day. My guess is that they turned around in the turbulence and came back from the other side. You never know. Thank you.